had these wonderful spinal cord injury partners in both in academia and outside of academia. So like ICORD got behind me and said, like, how can we support you to do this? And SCIBC got behind me and said, how can we support you to do this? And Praxis got behind me and said, like, how can we support? And together, like, we're all pushing together. We hear the thank you. I actually needed this information, but we also hear a lot of fears and worries and concerns from people who conduct research around how to feasibly do partnered research in a system that doesn't necessarily support them to do that. So a study that we're doing right now, and we're just sort of finishing it up, is we've actually interviewed researchers from different disciplines from across North America to ask them, why can't you follow the guiding principles? Why are they so difficult for you to follow? And those interviews have been really telling in terms of how challenging the research system can be traditionally for people that do partnered research. And I think the citable tagline of that science is, if you're doing partnered research right now, you often feel like you're swimming upstream. So it requires quite a bit of motivation because the research system in itself doesn't necessarily incentivize it. So funders and research organizations will tell you that partnered research is of value to them, but the systems that are in place, so things like tenure, things like allowable costs on a funding grant, merit, how you get incentivized to do things, timelines for grants. So like a grant announcement coming out only a month before the grant is due. It's not enough time to do meaningful engagement. The timelines of counting publications versus looking at meaningful engagement. What actually gets rewarded in the system is not necessarily what supports partnered research. And at the same time, the way we've been trained as scientists, traditionally, scientists don't get a lot of training in the relational skills and the just instrumental skills of how to run a partnership, how to partner. That's not something everyone gets in their PhD. Some people do, but many people don't. And so you can still see the value of the guiding principles and you can be excited about them. You can want to be able to meaningfully partner. But when you're doing that, you're going to feel like you're swimming upstream. And that's a really hard thing to overcome. And some scientists are overcoming it and doing it really well. But many scientists are facing challenges when they try to do it. And those are the ones that are motivated. We are also doing interviews and research with funders to understand why they set up their funding programs the way that they do and how they try to establish partnered research in their work. And I would say, like, right now, it's still quite preliminary from what we're learning from them. Really, like the documents of how they set up grants is how they try to establish partnered research. But it is challenging, I think, for funders too, to think about how they set it up. And then within the institution, we haven't done as much research, but we have started to do some research with my colleague, Catherine Sibley at University of Manitoba, to look at tenure and promotion documents, to look at how what things are rewarded, incentivized, looked for in those documents. And what we find broadly with that work is that dissemination-based knowledge translation activities we see that pop up in tenure and promotion files, but we don't see a lot of mention around partnership or exchange. So there's likely work that needs to be done around the tenure system, the actual system of academia that supports or hinders partnership. And I think it would be easy to think that researchers are just not motivated, but I think the story is so much more about their capability, their skill, as well as their opportunity. And we have to do a lot more with institutions and with funders to help them. And we're so lucky, like our partnership that we created to create the guiding principles, we made sure that we had funders on the partnership. So we have funders that sit on our actual panel to help influence that we need to look at funders, that we need to think about how funders influence partnership. If we can improve the quality of partnerships, our theory is that you will improve the quality of science. And from there, you'll actually improve the lives of people with spinal cord injury around the world.